Hello everybody and welcome to the anticipated releases of July 2018. Now this is going to be a bit of a special video. As you can tell, right now it's just me, but Nick and Travis are here. But we had to record this at different times because we were running really low on time. It was hard for us to meet up, and so the recordings for all three of us are going to be separate. So if it sounds a bit weird or off at times, that's why. But we all still came with 2 games. We're doing this exactly how we normally do it. So everything should be completely normal. Now the month of July, it had a lot of ports and a lot of re-releases, things like that for new consoles and stuff. But we all still found games that we're really excited for. Most of the games we're going to be talking about are original games, except for Nick, but you know, it'll be cool. So without further ado, Nick, take it away.
One of the ones that I'm actually really excited about to see is Shining Resonance Refrain. And the reason I really wanted to talk about this game is because it's so much different to how the Shining series used to be. For those of you who know about like the old school days, around like the Genesis days, one of the ways that that Sega really promoted their strategy and tactics kind of style was with the Shining Force series. And Shining Resonance Refrain is actually an enhanced port of Shining Resonance that many people didn't actually think would get a popular Western release. Like I was saying before, the Shining Force game that was way back in the past with like the Sega Genesis days is now like you would usually be along the same lines of Final Fantasy Tactics and Fire Emblem, but now it looks a lot more like Lacrimosa of Dana, or actually like the Star Ocean game. I really want to see how it does. Another game that I want to talk about just very briefly is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and that's because it's now getting a 3DS release. And it used to just be a Wii U game, but now it seems like Nintendo wants to be pushing this as more of a mainline series in a way, which is actually kind of cool to see, because with all the complaints that especially we've had on our channel about wanting to see new IPs out there, it's really cool that this one, even though I'm not a huge fan of this, but I'm liking the fact that they want to actually make new IPs still, even though that like some of them might not do as well as others, obviously, and it might not be as easy to make as, say, a Mario or a Zelda game. But it's very cool to see that it's going to be publishing, or really pushing for this new IP. But the main reason I really wanted to talk about it is because you don't really see a lot of games coming to 3DS unless they're really ports, like this game. And, I mean, there's a WarioWare game that I will be talking about next month, but it's really clear that the 3DS is almost at the end of its lifespan, and just seeing this release on there is pretty much confirmation of what we kind of knew was coming.
Sounds awesome. Now I'm going to be going second, and I'm going to be talking about a game called Mother Gunship. Just the name of this game, first of all, sounds completely hilarious to me. If you look at the footage of the game, it's a very colorful and bright game. The colors are really popping in this. You have a lot of orange, red, bright blue, things like that. And this is a seriously insane bullet hell type game. You can think along the lines of Doom or Bulletstorm. It's not quite to the level of a game like Doom, but you can definitely tell there was a lot of inspiration drawn from that game. It's a bullet hell at its finest, and the setting for this game is very futuristic. There's a lot of like huge androids and flying robots and things like that. But there seems to be a lot of creativity with this one. I haven't seen a lot of bullet hell games come out recently. I can't really think of any off the top of my head, to be honest, that have been really amazing. But the company that's making this game also made a game called Tower of Guns, which falls in the same genre, and that game was also futuristic setting. People are saying that this game is sort of a spiritual successor to that game, because that game also features things like robots and all sorts of cool stuff. So again, I don't have too much to say about this game, but if you're into the bullet hell type of genre, this game is definitely something that you should consider buying. So I'm pretty much going to leave it at that. Now Travis, you can take it away.
The first game I'm going to talk about is Earthfall. If anyone watched my YouTube channel, the We Game for Fame channel, me and CJ so happened to play a lot of the Left 4 Dead 2 series, and Earthfall is from the same developers, and it looks like it's going to be basically the same type of game, only with aliens. So if you are like me and enjoy to play a lot of like the co-op stuff, and it's kind of more about the game experience over the actual story, then I highly recommend this game because I mean, it's just like Left 4 Dead. I mean, I know I miss playing that game. Like, we have so many hours playing that game, and it kind of gets a little stale after playing just the same 4 campaign missions. So this one looks like it has a little more content to it, and I'm sure that they have all of this crazy stuff like the hunters and the smokers and stuff like that. Obviously different names for them because they're going to be aliens instead of zombies, and it's like a slightly different actual premise to it, but it definitely looks like a very interesting game, and I know me and CJ are both looking forward to possibly playing that game.
Yeah, Earthfall definitely seems like a cool game, and I love the enemy design. Just seeing like the couple of pictures and trailers that we have for this game, the enemies and the characters and everything in this game looks absolutely awesome, so I am super excited for this game as well. So with that, I think we're back to Nick, and I think he's got 2 games for us this time.
Now, one of the ones that I'm first most excited for is the Mega Man X Legacy Collections. And this is pretty cool for a couple of reasons, actually. The Switch, really just as a platform in general, you've heard Mike, you've heard Travis, and you've heard all of us really saying that it's really a platform that's gotten a lot of players to really go for the games that they wouldn't originally try, which, say, for example, like me with a shooter game, or I don't know, Mike tries all the games, and then Travis playing Mario and Rabbids. It's really a platform that encourages you to branch out and try the other games that are out there, or maybe different genres that you never thought that you'd like a lot. And I know Travis is hyped about a game that he'll talk about later, I'm pretty sure, so I don't want to spoil what it is, but it's an RPG, and it's just like really a JRPG, and I'm excited because that's one of the genres that I'm really excited about. So as a platform, I think this is a good place to actually put it on there. And it might get some younger players to play it, which I think that would be super cool to see, because Mega Man was one of like the first dynasties that was out there. And now with the Mega Man X Legacy Collection too, after already the other Legacy Collections before, I'm hoping to see it does well. And the other reason I think this is cool is because they're pushing this right before Mega Man 11 comes out, which would really give them the momentum that's needed for Mega Man 11 to sell well. And I'm really hoping that it's not going to follow the trend of like the higher digit titles for like the Mega Man X series, and those games got questionable. And if 11 does well, it might spark a return to that series. And I'm really excited to see for Mega Man that could actually get that spark back. And I would definitely not complain, which more of the games that are in that kind of Metroidvania kind of style. And for those of you who that like term is completely new, those games like Metroid, like Castlevania style, which was dominant in like the Super Nintendo era, but you really don't see a lot of them coming out these days unless they're indie. So if you see like a big AAA, I guess, release like this, it would be really cool to see. Now the main one that I'm really excited about is Sonic Mania Plus. And if you've seen all the former stuff, I don't need to talk about how much I'm a huge fanboy of the original Sonic Mania, but this is just the expanded version of it, I guess, to kind of give a brief overview of it. So if you haven't gotten Sonic Mania, let's say Sonic Mania Plus will be a cool thing for you to go in and get. It comes with a couple more playable characters, a couple of them basically meaning Ray the Flying Squirrel and Mighty the Armadillo. And if those names mean nothing to you, it's probably because they're mainly characters that they were in the comics. And even though they didn't appear on Sonic Mania Adventures, for those of you who watched that. Mighty was playable in Knuckles Chaotix, and Ray was playable in actually an arcade game called Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, which is actually pretty cool to see him coming back for this. You actually see him like right next to like Sonic, and I believe Mighty was actually on the other side. It wasn't actually Knuckles. I'd have to look at another picture of that to make sure. But Mighty will have the hammer drop ability, so don't worry, their characters will come with different abilities, so you will tell the difference between Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Mighty, and Ray. So Mighty will have the hammer drop ability, and Ray will have the air glide ability. Kinda does what they say. They also are going to be adding a competitive mode that will allow 4 people, which there was a competitive mode before, but now it'll let you have 4 people. It'll have a save and playback feature for speedrunners, which is amazing because Sonic games are perfect for speedrunning. And actually a change in boss fight difficulty, which I actually find really good because they're kind of easy for veterans of the 2D Sonic games. I will say that I did not consider Sonic Mania nearly as challenging as Sonic 2 or Sonic 3. While I might not get this immediately when it comes out, I do feel like these are all very welcome additions to one of my new favorite games. If you haven't played Sonic Mania yet, I will say that I will 100% support, well obviously I would support the original one too, but this one, it comes with more content and it seems like it to be a more diverse package, I guess. I think all the additions that they're making are very, very good, and especially with the other playable characters and the other abilities, you'll definitely find your favorites, whether it be Knuckles with his kind of wall climbing, whether it's Tails with his flying, or just the classic Sonic who kind of plays as vanilla as it gets, I guess. That was a weird way to say it, but yeah, I definitely support any attempt to go for the Sonic Mania games, and Sonic Mania Plus I am super excited to see. And also because we're getting more Sonic Mania, and hey, this does well as well. Maybe Sega continues it rolling, maybe we get Sonic Mania 2, who knows. I would love Sonic Mania 2, but you know, it's not in my hands, it's in Sega's hands, and hopefully Christian Whitehead, because Christian Whitehead, you're a star.
So yeah, I'm going to move on to my game now, and that is Banner Saga 3. Now this game is very creative and unique. For those of you that have seen it, this series works as a trilogy, so this is going to be the finale for that series. Banner Saga 1 and 2 are obviously already out. And the first thing you're going to note when you look at the gameplay for this game, it's very original. It looks like most of it's hand-drawn, and it pretty much is. So it kind of, the frames and the way that it works and the motions of this game are very unique. It's a tactical RPG type of game, but it doesn't look like any other tactical RPG, and I think that's what really drew me to the series in the first place, also because it came out for free on Xbox Games with Gold, so that helps too. Art design is so important to me, like the cell shading of Wind Waker or the realistic graphics of other games. You know, I like seeing the art direction that games will go and then seeing how they use it. There's another game coming out this month that uses lighting and stuff. I'm not going to mention it yet because I know Nick and Travis are going to want to talk a lot about that one. But Banner Saga definitely has a unique art style, and what's cool about this game is the tactical RPG style of it is very reminiscent of Fire Emblem. So Nick, I think this is a game that you would actually kind of enjoy, but it's very niche. It's very, it's a cult type of game where the style of it is very slow paced. You know, Fire Emblem is very quick. You move a guy from one space to the next, you sort of hop into it. Banner Saga sort of takes its time with it. It's a lot more planning, the characters move a lot slower. It's more of a marathon, whereas Fire Emblem is more of a sprint when you're actually in the mission. You know, it's sort of boom, boom, boom from one action to the next. Banner Saga takes its time. It's more about the storytelling with this game, I think. Again, you can tell it's a very artsy type of game, which I think is awesome because like I said, I don't play games like this very often. There's not a whole lot of tactical RPGs anyway that are out. Fire Emblem is one of them. I guess you have Mario, Rabbids, and XCOM, but even those ones play differently. So, you know, it's a cool game. This game was a Kickstarter. For some of the money at least. Most of the money was just brought from the company itself, but a lot of it was made through Kickstarter. And the setting for this game is Vikings. So if you like Vikings, you would definitely like Banner Saga 3. So if you haven't played the first two, you still have a bit of time. We still have a couple weeks before this game comes out, but you know, it's a franchise that was started by a group of 3 people. That's how tiny the company was at first, so I think the series deserves a lot more attention. So that's all I'm going to say about Banner Saga 3. And now, Travis, I think you can take it away with the game that we are all anticipating to talk about right now.
And my last game, I am oh so very excited about. I have been looking forward to this game coming out since the demo came out on the Switch a long time ago. Who even knows when? Octopath Traveler. This game looks freaking amazing. I pre-ordered it right when it was able to be pre-ordered during E3. When the newest demo came out, I already binged playing every single one of them, completing all of the first bosses and like the first chapter part that I could. And honestly, I don't even know who I want to start with, because the Hunter has a super cool ability where you can capture animals and then use them during battle, so it kind of gives you another way of attacking, which is very important when you're trying to weaken the people's shields that they have up. And then like the dancer, she has super cool like backstory. It's very dark and vengeful, so I definitely want to get myself playing that. I don't know exactly how long the actual campaigns will be for each of them, but I think it's so cool that you get to have 8 different stories in the one game and how each character will interact, because during the treehouse you got to see that they were all actually like intermingling with each other, and then like you can actually have them in your party to also broaden the amount of things. But like, I'm really happy that this demo came out, that I was actually able to use all of them, because the first one, I really enjoyed the dancer, but like Ulbrich, the warrior, he was kind of a stereotypical kind of story where he wants to just have honor for his king that had fallen. I mean, it's not a bad story, and like he was still fun to use, but I definitely enjoyed like the Hunter when I was able to like bring out animals and attack with them, and it was super cool. And then what actually really surprised me was the Scholar. I was not anticipating that one to be a super fun thing, but he actually has like really good magic abilities, which I guess kind of makes sense because he hits the books, he knows all the spells. So he actually kind of kicks some serious ass. But another thing that I was watching someone kind of like review this and such. And they pointed out that all of the first letters of their names actually spell out Octopath, which is kind of cool. Because Tressa the Merchant, Ulbrich Warrior, actually I should probably do it so it actually spells it out. So like Ulbrich Warrior, Cyrus the Scholar, Tressa the Merchant, Ophelia the Cleric, Primrose the Dancer, Elphin the Apothecary, Tyrion the Thief, and Hanet the Hunter. So it actually all spells out Octopath, and that's super cool. And like I was saying, I am super curious to see how they actually all like feed into each other's stories, because I know you can actually bump into them. Even in the first demo, Primrose is able to bump into Ulbrich in the next town. You're not really able to actually utilize them much in any sort of battles, but I just can't wait for this game to come out on the 13th. It looks so good, it looks so polished. I know a bunch of people were hoping that they would change or like reveal the name from Octopath Traveler to like the next Final Fantasy game, which would have been awesome. But I think that this game definitely has its own place. It has, all the demos have been well, it's just been greatly accepted by the community. So I'm hoping that it does have a lot of success, because then it kind of also brings in more of the Square Enix games, and I know no one would complain about actually getting more Final Fantasy and or Kingdom Hearts on the Switch. That would be a dream come true to most of us. But yeah, I love all of the characters. They all have a very unique story, and they all have a unique playing style even in the combat, which when there's 8 different characters, I was very impressed with how each of them uniquely felt, because like the Apothecary and Cleric both have like healing stuff, but they do it in different ways. Whereas like Apothecary, he actually builds potions, whereas the Cleric, she just had a spell that healed. So it was really cool to see that they had that, and then I'm also really curious to see what all lies ahead in the bigger parts of the skill trees, because I know the more abilities you unlock, you actually get to like get a whole new branch of spells to choose from. So I am really excited to see what all actually happens with that, because I loved all of the campaigns I've played so far of it, and like I said, I pre-ordered it. Better bet your bottom dollar that on the 13th I will be absorbed in this game instead of doing things like I should. But what are your guys' thoughts on it?
What's really interesting about Octopath Traveler is that I want to see it do well, and I think it has a lot of potential, but I hear that some of the ways that it's very difficult for you to link all of the stories, like of 8 different travelers, into one kind of cohesive story, and I understand how hard that can be, but at the same time, it is very, very difficult to do so. Yeah, I think it'll be really cool to see, but I hear that some of the writing is weaker, especially when you saw it in the demo, even though they only allowed 3 hours of it. But hey, I still think that the game has a lot of potential. The battle mechanics looks amazing. The lighting is exceptional, and I think Octopath Traveler will do very well. And also, I love the fact that this is getting a pretty big release compared to some of the other games that are coming out. It's not just a port, it is an original title. And Square Enix, again, as much as I've been saying it before, I love the fact that they are, and they're supporting the Switch as a platform. I would like to see Octopath Traveler do well, and I would like to see other JRPGs come to the Switch, because I was a huge fan of I Am Setsuna, and I have not gotten to playing Lost Sphere yet, but I'm liking a lot of the stuff that Square Enix is giving the Switch and Nintendo overall. So, I would love to see Octopath Traveler follow that same momentum that I guess was built up. There might have been a couple of spotty reviews, but personally, I love those games.
Yeah, I'm not going to add too much more to this, but obviously Octopath Traveler looks like it's going to be an awesome game. I'm a huge Square Enix fan. A lot of their spin-offs like this always feel kind of cliched to me. As great as Octopath Traveler looks, I'm curious, is it going to set itself apart from other sort of spin-off games that Square Enix has put out, or even from their mainstream games like Final Fantasy? You know, is this story going to be something that sets itself apart enough to where it's like, this is an awesome game? Because they put out other awesome games like Bravely Default and things like that, but you know, they all have stories that sort of run the same way, and so I'm curious what in this game story-wise is going to set itself apart from other games. We've gotten sort of a glimpse of it, but we haven't seen too much, so, you know, there isn't really a whole lot to say yet. But you know, I'm excited to follow development. I have this game on pre-order, and just like the rest of us here, I think we're all excited for this game. So yeah, I think if everyone else is good, I think now we can sort of move on to the conclusions. Like I said, the lack of new games coming out this month was kind of disappointing to me. We mentioned a few of them, but there's no like big box releases. It makes sense because E3 just happened, and usually the couple months right after E3 doesn't have a whole lot because the E3 releases start coming out towards like September, October. And let me tell you, when September hits, we have a bunch of games to talk about that are going to be super awesome. I'm definitely going to have to do more than 2 games at that point. I don't really have any honorable mentions because of that. All the ones I kind of would have mentioned are like remakes, and you know, we talk about those enough. So, you know, it's a down month, but it's July. July is always a bit of a down month, so, you know. But there's a couple games that I think are still worth checking out. And Nick already mentioned a few of them, like Captain Toad and stuff. If there's some games that you haven't been able to try yet, now's the month to do it. You know, pick them up for a new console and give it a shot.
I really wish that they weren't only really going for ports these days, but you know, hey, what are you gonna do? It seems like that it's a slower release, but it kind of seems like the hype that was, or kind of like the aftermath of E3, which is like the calm before the storm, before all of the releases kind of get thrown out there. So yeah, I'm really excited for this month. Even though some people might not be as excited about it, I think it's going to be a really cool month, especially with some really big releases.
Yes, and thank you. As always, do a like, comment, because we love to read those comments about any games that we missed, because, you know, there's a lot of games coming out after E3. It just happens. We might have overglanced one. Tell us what you are excited about. And as always, tell us how we did on reviewing it, because, you know, if it was a game that I did, I don't exactly read into it as much as I typically probably should. But, you know, no harm, no foul. Bye, dudes.